My name is Steven Rabinowitz, and welcome to World Cup 2026 Extra Time, the penultimate edition of our World Cup coverage. So we saw Argentina and Spain, as Argentina, the sixth team to return to the World Cup final as defending champions, and they were unsuccessful as it was 1-0 Spain as it went into extra time like most of these World Cups seemingly do. And Spain is World Cup champions, the third reigning European champions to take home the trophy, the second World Cup title for Spain. Seems like a different team than the one that drew with Cape Verde on the opening weekend of the World Cup back on June 15th, 0-0. They look dominant today, just on both sides of the ball. They just didn't get the ball in until right after extra the stoppage of the half break of extra time and scoring in the 106th minute. Shots were 20-2, shots on target. Argentina did not have a shot on target the entire game. 15 chances created to two, over 2-1 in corners, essentially almost 2-1 in possession. It was just every time this World Cup that a team has won the battle of possession, has won the battle of offense, they eventually will break through. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen as often as it should, but this time, and Spain's been the victim of this in two World Cups previous, where they lost in extra time to Russia and Morocco. Russia in 2018 and Morocco in 2022. The last time Spain lost in regular time in the World Cup was a 5-0 throbbing by the Netherlands back in 2014 when the Netherlands were really on their best streak ever. Remember that year they finished third after finishing second the year before. But this was dominance today, really, when you think about it. But Argentina just never ever died in this game. But there were points in here where you just knew eventually. Like the only time I thought Argentina was just possibly going to do it was more towards the end of the second half, but then Enzo Fernandez. And you could look at the stats and then just say, okay, this was just a. But you have to realize that there's a reason why you can't win a game sometimes with 10 men. And Enzo Martinez makes a tough challenge in the 90th, the third minute of stoppage time, the 90 plus three. And Fernandez just 11 minutes earlier got a red card or got a yellow card for basically complaining to the ref. And that's the worst thing you can do in a World Cup sometimes because now your defense is kind of in a little bit of a stretch. And then he had a moment, and eventually Spain was going to score, and they literally had to basically play that little halftime portion. And then Ferran Torres, who, if you remember, had one of the most point blank shots in the Cape Verde game, which pretty much was the best chance Spain had to score what ended up being a 0-0 game. That was the difference. Ferran Torres scoring in the 106th minute, and that was again the game winner. And Spain is now World Cup champions again for the second time. The expected goal is 1.94 to 0.17. This is a game where Argentina showed their really just never say die attitude. And the goalie for Argentina, Emiliano Martinez, who just was a brick wall, had the most saves in a World Cup game, World Cup final ever, and then lost the best goalie in the World Cup to the best goalie in the World Cup, which is the trying to remember what it's called, the Golden Glove, to Unai Simon, who literally had one less save than Martinez had the entire game. Simon had 10 saves the entire tournament. And and Martinez had 11 saves just that game alone, albeit Martinez didn't really do a lot that game because Argentina does have a good defense too. Unai Simon, 7 shutouts in this World Cup. That's a first ever. No one ever had six. I think a couple of people were tied with six. Obviously, seven is tough because in the old format, that would have been every single game of the World Cup. Now you had at least 8 chances to have games. So 7 goals, 7 games of a clean sheet for Unai Simon. That speaks more to Spain's defense than it does to Simon himself. Oh yeah, and and Spain becomes the first team ever to win a World Cup by allowing just 1 goal. Two was the least amount done by 3 teams, including Spain back in 2010. Also, Spain becomes the fourth team ever to win the World Cup and not be trailing for a single minute of the game. And I want to get to Spain first, but I just want to talk Spain's future first. I want to talk about Lionel Messi. It's a bittersweet World Cup. He didn't have the greatest run after he scored what ended up being his last goal in the Egypt game. Ironically enough, he didn't score in any of the final 3 games out there. And Messi, who will go down with a World Cup trophy, will go down with some of the best accolades ever at club level. He still has time to play in MLS, and I don't think he'll play at 43 in the World Cup at 2030, but never say never. Would say probably never, but who the hell knows? But Messi does go through as one of the biggest, as the right now, the one with the most World Cup starts in his career and the most World Cup assists in his career. However, he does not end up with the most World Cup goals. Kylian Mbappe ends up actually ending up with the golden boot of this tournament. And because he outscored him 10 to 8, Mbappe is now the all-time leading goal scorer in the World Cup. You knew Mbappe would eventually get that would get that mantle. He just got it now, and he'll have a chance to probably improve that position when he's only 31 and going into the World Cup in 2030, where France will be one of the favorites out there. However, Spain hosts the 2030 World Cup. So we've had 2 consecutive years now where we've had a failure to repeat from from France in 2022 and Argentina in 2026. I don't think you can bet against Spain doing it in 2030 right now. I mean, it's going to be hosted. I mean, you'll have the South American Centennial Games, but it's going to be hosted by Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. And right now, I mean, a lot of things can change. We'll have the Euros in 2028, which will actually be in the United Kingdom. So England has had a good chance to do it. By the way, 6-4 yesterday. What an insane game between England and France. That's the type of third place game you're going to have. If you're going to throw balls to the wall and not play a lot of players like Belly didn't play, Cade didn't play, Bellingham played a little bit, have that type of game. But overall, so good for England, who ends up, by the way, getting their best World Cup finish outside of winning it in 1966. But it comes home to Spain. Spain were the best team in this tournament, and they finally really got to use their formula a lot of this knockout round. Obviously, the games against Portugal and Belgium were tighter than I think they would want to be, and Mikel Merino being the hero in both of those games. But the amount of possession that this team had, the amount of chances that the opponents got on goal, Spain used their defense perfectly, and you're very scared to see what this team becomes because Yamal, who was very close to winning the game in regular time on a free kick, you have a lot to see from Yamal, who will only be 23 the next time the World Cup is. This team started 2 teenagers in their lineup. The first World Cup champions, or the first team to make the World Cup finals to ever do that. And now they're the first World Cup champions to do that. Going to be a very interesting time for Spain going forward. We will have a whole kind of post-mortem wrap up. I'm going to do some good, bad, and neutral of the World Cup tomorrow. But until then, World Cup 2026 extra time. Watch any of the other reviews of games or see how bad my previews were by going to the World Cup, the WCE Time channel on Instagram and WC 2026 extra time on Facebook and YouTube. I will talk to you tomorrow, and then we'll talk about what the future of this channel is. We will do something as the regular club season goes on in Europe, and we will talk about a lot of other things. So Stay right here. I will talk to you tomorrow.